This is Mega Maker, a Mega Man fan game on PCs that allows you to create your own Mega Man levels and share them with people around the world. Otherwise known as take old joke videos from a couple years ago and turn them into reality. Yep. Does anyone remember that Mega Man Powered Up game that came out a decade or so ago on the PSP? The one with the chibi graphics? Does anyone remember that cool little level editor where you could build your own levels and share them with people? For my money, the best part about the whole game, and Powered Up was a pretty solid remake in my book, but the level editor was the jam for me. I spent more time on that than the actual game itself. Mega Maker is just like that, except it sticks with 8-bit Mega Man and allows to go as close to crazy as you could get without breaking anything. No picking graphic packs or any of that stuff. Choose from 129 tile sets, 40 backgrounds, 29 level objects, 46 enemies, 12 bosses, and more stuff that we couldn't fit onto this block of text on this screenshot and mix and match all that stuff together for some good fun. Now, of course, if you don't have a creative bone in your body and you just want to play some Mega Man, then Mega Maker can provide that as well. There's about half a dozen levels included with the game that you could play and sample through, mostly as outlines to show you what you could do with the software. And of course, there's always the online bit where you could go to an online server and browse for more levels to play. And some of these levels from users around the world and whatnot and have you, that sort of thing. Some of these are really creative bits, others are kinda lame, and then there's the oddball level that you have no clue why this exists. But regardless of what's on that server, what is there is beatable. No matter how ridiculous it looks, if it's on the server and you could get it online, it is beatable. And that's because Mega Maker won't let you upload the level until you can prove it is conquerable. If you can beat your own level, you can upload it. And that's a good thing because crap like this won't be up there. But then there's bullshit like this that's apparently beatable because, sure, why not? Maybe I'm missing something. But you can beat it. It's there. Unless they found a way to cheat the system, which is always a thing, but I digress.
Rolls Royce, man!
Mega Maker is a weird thing to talk about in this kind of format because while there are gameplay elements and thus that makes it a video game, technically speaking, the main draw of the program is the ability to design your own Mega Man levels, and so you can't really comment on the level design here since that's almost entirely user-based. In that regard, searching for levels isn't that difficult an endeavor. You have the option to browse through a list of levels and display, in the order of uploads and best voted, worst voted, recent, most earliest, whatever the case may be. You could use search parameters for specifically named levels. You could choose a random level that's chosen at random. You could play, or you could look up a specific level if you have a level ID, and you could download some of these levels to your hard drive if that suits your fancy. The level creation aspect is actually pretty solid, fairly straightforward and easy to use, but if you want a primer, there's a rather humorous yet drawn out tutorial that will walk you through the basics of making a pretty standard level. In any event, you have a number of assorted graphical assets taken from the various NES Mega Man games that you could use to create your levels. These include various brick objects, various backdrops, and a couple dozen assorted ladders and spikes for your pleasure. There are various enemies taken from set NES games as well as various Robot Master weapons that you could pick and choose to apply to each level. And of course, there are 12 Robot Masters that you could choose from, 2 representing each of the 6 games. You could only have 1 boss battle per level, or if you prefer, you could skip the boss battles altogether and have a gold clearing orb or surprise box placed at the end of the level, or multiple ends if desired. Unlike the level creation system that was in Powered Up where you had to choose from sets to work with, here you can mix and match the various bricks and backdrops from various levels as much as you want and use them in somewhat creative ways. Certain combinations actually turn out quite nicely from an aesthetic point of view, and though the game does allow you to change the background color, this applies only to certain backdrops and it's one color for the entire stage. You can't mix and match background colors per screen, which is the only real downer in an otherwise superb level editor that has some flexibility to it. In particular, the weapons on hand that you could give Mega Man for use in your level. There's a selection of weapons from the various games like the Metal Blade from Mega Man 2 or the Flash Stopper from Mega Man 4. You have the trusty Rush Jet and Rush Coil adapters as well as the Mega Man 1 Magnet Beam. And just to say there's something new to the package, the game does include 2 new weapons. Shine, a shield thing that allows you to deflect enemy shots back at your enemies, and Nado, a tornado move that can blaze through enemies and give you a bit of a lift. So you have new toys to play with, it seems.
Fabergé Eggman?
But despite only having 2 new weapons among many legacy ones, it should be noted that the pre-existing weapons did have some minor upgrades to them. You'll notice that there's 3 different shield types, but they do have different properties when active. Skull Barrier, for example, allows you to walk on spikes. Star Crash gives you high floaty gravity jumps similar to if you were underwater or in deep space. And Plant Barrier allows you to absorb enemy projectiles and turn them into health pickups. The Charge Kick slide attack can now be done in the air, Top Spin is actually useful, allowing you to bounce off enemies, and the Crash Bomb seems a bit more effective here than it did in Mega Man 2, though I'd say that's more of a personal opinion thing. The best kind of levels, I think, are the ones that make use of the various weapons, and you can make it so that your standard weapon is one of the master weapons rather than the old Mega Buster, which you could make the charge in 3 distinct flavors, or you could go old school and make it the old pea shooter from the first 3 games. So you could have levels where your only weapon is the charge kick and levels are built around that. You could have Rush Jet be the default weapon and make little shmups. You could also have levels where you have no weapons whatsoever and you have to rely on your wits and reflexes to survive. There's a plethora of possibilities with what you can create in Mega Maker, provided you learn the tools, and once you do, well, the fun truly starts there. And the main gameplay engine is traditional 8-bit NES style Mega Man, and the gameplay aspect is a pretty solid replication of those older titles as far as the controls, the enemy behavior, the physics, the weapons, that sort of thing is concerned. While there are some slight enhancements here and there, such as allowing for vertical scrolling segments, something that's more in common with the 16-bit titles, as well as fairly minimal slowdown and no flickering, it does function like 8-bit Mega Man and follows the rule of that style to a T. Now, if you don't know what a traditional 8-bit NES-style Mega Man looks, sound, or play like, well, those games have been re-released often enough and on a variety of formats that it shouldn't be difficult to grab a Mega Man game and give it a go so you can acclimate yourself. In fact, if you've never touched a Mega Man game, then Mega Maker would not be your ideal first choice as an introduction to the series because it's not really a full-fledged game. Rather, it's more of a toy box with a bunch of building blocks, gimmicks, and other doohickeys that you could play around with and create your own little worlds. And a working knowledge of the game's origins and inspirations probably help a bit in that regard to truly get that kind of satisfaction, I suppose.
Honus Wagner card, man!
That was one of the cheaper ones.
I like this game. I think I spent more time on Mega Maker just fiddling around with the level creation and going through other people's works of genius in both senses of the word than I did anything else. And when a game sucks me in to the extent that I'll spend an hour or so a day playing around with it for the week or so since I got it, that can only be a good thing. Mega Maker is the sort of thing you'll try if you want to create your own Mega Man worlds, but with something that's a little more user-friendly and perhaps a little less intimidating than using ROM hacking tools or even doing it from scratch. This is not world-bending or genre-defining by any stretch, it's just a really cool time waster, and that's high praise in my book. So if you want to try it out, links in the description if you want to go there, and maybe somewhere down the line, probably toss up a couple levels for folks to try out. So yeah, that's Mega Maker. Have fun. I sure will.
How's a hamburger gonna kill Mega Man?